In the world of AI and technology taking over the world, we tend to miss people centricity and values attached to it. On Let's Talk People, we are talking culture, diversity, community building, and so much more. So join us and let's get talking. Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk People with LJH, brought to you by Startup Grind and Impact Summit. Have you ever wondered कि जब हम काम कर रहे होते हैं और हम आपकी इंक्रीमेंटल साइकिल का वक्त आ रहा होता है, so there's anxiety, right? So वो डिले क्यों हो जाती है या अप्रेजल आते आते रुक क्यों जाता है? जब अप्रेजल आ ही गया है तो मोटिवेशन आ रही है एम्प्लॉय में, फिर वो अचानक से डाउन हो जाए, right? So what is the solution behind that? What is the solution that we can come up with? For that, let's welcome our today's guest, Waleed Yazdani, who is head people at Retailo and who's going to help us discover what are the challenges in HR regarding your performance and management, obviously your increment cycle, and so much more. Hi Waleed, how are you doing?
Hi Laraib, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. आपको मसला तो नहीं हुआ रास्ते में आते आते?
नहीं, not a problem at all. Just I think I was a little delayed in the morning because I had to grab a cup of coffee.
Right.
Or now I can't wake up in the morning. So, but we're here now. Great to be here.
So Waleed, besides the cup of coffee and besides that you've traveled all the way to the podcast session, and thank you so much for coming. How was the journey all along in your career? Where did you start it? How did you start it? Where, how, when? Whatever.
So, no, I'll give you the full story.
Yes, please.
So, I won't go into details. Undergrad, क्या किया है सुनाना. Just so basically, my undergrad has been in psychology.
Right.
And that too, like I was sharing before we started this, has been an interesting story because I was a pre-med student who ended up doing chartered accountancy for a year. Mm-hmm. And then realized that this is not my thing at all.
Right.
So I took a gap year and tried to figure out what is it that I want to do in my life.
Right.
And that's when I realized that, so I wanted to understand my own self and how people think around me. Mm-hmm. And for that, I realized that doing an undergrad in psychology will be pretty cool.
Right.
Just to, kind of bring some sense and some clarity into how my mind works, how people's minds works. It helps you in your everyday life going forward.
Yeah.
Did a degree and did my undergrad in psychology. And uske saath there was a lot of exposure to the business side. Eventually, I joined ISEC. Then Rocket Internet ka ek aaya tha. There was a venture by the name of Tripda back then in 2013-14, if I recall correctly. So wahan par got exposure to the startup side, to the business side, to the corporate side. And that's when I realized this is something that I really enjoy working in, an environment, an ambience, a vibe, and the sort of things that people do in the corporate side on a day-to-day basis, something I really enjoy doing. So that's when I decided that psychology पढ़ तो लिए, but इसको I don't want to make it a profession now, and also because it's very emotionally heavy. Right. And I'm an emotional guy, so personal professional life के दरम्यान में line नहीं draw पाएगी.
Right.
I went. I spent a year with startups and then went for an MBA. And after the MBA,
You went for an MBA where?
I did my MBA from LUMS, so batch of 2018 LUMS. That was actually my first real exposure to the academia of business.
Right.
There were a lot of people in the batch who were coming from business backgrounds, who had a lot of more years of experience than I did coming into the program. And one thing I really learned from the MBA program is that you learn more from your peers, from your class fellows, than you learn from maybe an instructor or some case studies. So
not even the professor?
So there's definitely a lot of value and a lot of knowledge there, but
as
the different experiences that your cohort is bringing from different industries, them talking about it, you learning from it, that's the real value that I feel I gained from the 2-year program.
Makes sense.
Because eventually an MBA is for the network that you're creating, because yahi log like today it's been like 2018, 2022, 4 years. A lot of my batch fellows are now in middle management, senior management positions across Pakistan. So it's the network that it provides you. That's the value, the true value of an MBA in my mind, at least.
Right.
I did the MBA, and after that I joined Fatma Group, which is one of Pakistan's largest fertilizer manufacturers. Fertilizer is the main business, and there's also a lot of other businesses that the group is in. I joined the corporate Fatma. इसको कट करना है. Corporate नहीं होता, Fatma Kangro का होता है. Sorry. Yeah, I joined Fatma Group.
Yeah.
As a management trainee in the marketing and sales division.
Right.
And like any management trainee, there's a lot of rotations that are happening in that 1 year cycle before you end up in your parent department. So I can't really recall where the first rotation was, but the second rotation was in HR. And Fatma mein HR was typically divided into 4 separate teams. You had your talent sustainability or OD side. You had talent acquisition, which is recruitment. You had service delivery, which is people ops. And then you had total rewards, which is comp and ben, but then like a larger scale version of comp and ben. So it's called total rewards there.
Right.
And one week ke rotations the in each of these teams. Excuse me. So, jo last rotation thi in total rewards, I still recall very vividly. The guy who was heading the team was Salman Malik, and he came up with an assignment to, like, we were a group of 3 people in my group, and the assignment was, which I had to turn around in a day and a half, by the way. There was a car policy. We had to uncover the cost of dissatisfaction in employees of that car policy. It took me at least one whole day to figure out what that means.
Can you explain what was the assignment really was, you know?
Yeah. So the assignment,
आपके पास policies होती हैं companies में, different policies. आपको गाड़ी चाहिए, you know, one of the increments, one of the, what do you say?
It's a benefit. It's a core benefit.
One of the benefits that you can avail.
Yeah.
Sales में लोग आते ही सोचते हैं कि इतना ही sales मार लो गाड़ी आ जाएगी, right?
Sales में उनको as a tool for work दी जाती है, because they need it for doing their jobs.
Right.
Then other side support functions it's given as a benefit.
So you got the policy as your assignment to make to get the satisfaction level out of it, right?
Yeah. So Salman's ask was, okay, I need a dollar value on कि करंट एज इस स्टेट के अंदर जो पॉलिसी एग्जिस्ट करती है, इस स्टेट में अगर हम चलाते रहते हैं इसको, तो एम्प्लॉय की डिससैटिस्फैक्शन की डॉलर वैल्यू क्या बनती है? सो आई वाज लाइक, what does this even mean?
Exactly.
Like, where do you start on such a topic?
Yeah.
Like, how do you measure dissatisfaction? But later I found out that he was just trying to test and see how different people approach the topic.
Right.
But here we went really dive deep into it, met a lot of people who were managing different portions of the policy, different portions of the process in a day and a half.
Okay.
So went to the admin, went to finance, went to the people in HR who take care of this in the service delivery team. I saw how much time it takes on each step. How many times does the employee have to, like, how many touch points are there in life cycle of procuring a car within Fatma and through that policy.
Right.
Then I took an estimate of the average salaries of all people who are eligible for a car, and then kind of figured out if an employee is spending, let's say, 15 to 20 hours in a month just trying to get a car, trying to get it approved and all of that.
Yeah.
Then what is the cost going to be to the company? There were a lot of assumptions involved.
Right.
So salary से एक fair idea मिल जाता है कि this person is spending this much time, तो इतनी comp directly सिर्फ इस process के ऊपर लग रही है. Built a model, presented it. I was very confident on the numbers. Assumptions के ऊपर I knew I was going to get bashed because there were too many.
Right.
Time नहीं था. And I did get bashed when we presented the model. But इस पूरे process के अंदर I realized कि if I am going to learn something, not learn something, but if I want to grow, तो career के शुरू के 2 साल या आंखें बंद करके बस काम करना है. मुझे रगड़ा, like I need to get through that grind.
Right.
I want somebody who is willing to take me up as a mentee, coach me, be very clear on his feedback, be very straight up, straightforward with me with the best intentions in their heart. And that's when I realized that even though I was in marketing and sales, I don't. So at that point in my career, when I'm just starting off, I don't want to choose a function. I'd much rather go with choosing a boss.
Right.
And I'd identified Salman Malik. So I went up to the guy the next day, and I went to his office, knocked, entered, sat. I was like, I don't care what work you have, I want to do it. Like, even if it's creating a small Excel model, if you want me to type your email, I'm fine with anything. I just want to sit with you every day. आप मुझे काम दें, and मैं आपसे सीख लूँगा.
ठीक है.
And eventually I ended up in his team.
Zabardast.
And then we worked for 2 years there. So that's how I ended up in HR. That's what I always said. HR was never a conscious choice. It just happened. And
so it might be a subconscious choice.
Exactly right. My friends like to say that like I came full circle because undergrad psychology में किया पे business side पे भटक गए.
Meds भी किया आपने from the credit college by the way.
Yeah, from credit college Hussain did pre-med. Okay, and now came back to HR. But I am genuinely extremely happy that I'm doing HR and not marketing or something else. Like
Right.
it's become a passion.
Right.
Fatma Group 2 साल गुजारे, then spent a year with Zong in their organization development function, learning and development पे काम किया, budgeting, OKRs बनाए for the teams, managed perform. Interestingly, Zong के अंदर performance management used to happen on a monthly basis.
Monthly basis. So it usually happen quarterly, कहीं quarterly होती है, कहीं monthly होती है, कहीं yearly होती है, right?
Monthly मैंने कहीं नहीं देखा.
Monthly आपने कहीं नहीं देखा?
कहीं नहीं देखा. It's normally biannually or annually.
Yeah.
Performance management, full-fledged performance management, जिसका reward comes into your salary as well.
Oh, the increment cycle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was happening monthly. उसको change कराया to quarterly as well while I was there. Spent a year there. And then I got this amazing opportunity just one day. Again, that's the power of networking as well, right?
Absolutely.
So I knew one of the leadership in Retailo was like I knew the guy from Hassan Abdal. So he just randomly one day I received a call and Waleed, क्या कर रहे हो आजकल? किधर होते हो? And I said, yeah, I'm in HR, I'm in Zong. And he thought I'm in supply chain or something.
Right.
So he's like, you're in HR? Let's meet. We met. 3 दिन के बाद I was in Karachi and I was in Retailo.
Right.
I went through a series of interviews, went through a lot of questions and whatnot, and had to also manage a lot of logistics as well. And 3 दिन के बाद Monday को conversation हुई थी, I think. Thursday को I was in Karachi. I was in the head office. So that's the power of networking as well, and that's also goes to show कि आप जितनी मेहनत कर लो end पे किस्मत की भी एक game है.
होती है.
So वो वाली चीज़ you can't really kind of forgo.
बिल्कुल.
Joined Retailo back in September.
Right.
Been a little more than a year now. Started off as a people manager, people and culture manager. I was responsible for engagement and the culture side of things. Eventually, like I said, the team was also 2 people. Now I've got a massive team who's deployed in like outside Pakistan as well. And now the team has expanded from just people and culture to there's talent acquisition, there's people solutions, and then there's of course people and culture as well. So it's been quite a roller coaster ride.
Right.
The past couple of months.
Sorry, ये दोबारा बोलता और माइक में आ जाता.
कोई बात नहीं.
हाँ, we continue.
मैंने बहुत rambling किया. Just use whatever.
Yeah.
सही. So yeah, people and culture, people manager joined किया. I joined as people manager in September, and it's been a year, and now I'm head of people for 2 countries.
Wonderful.
So it's been quite the journey.
Quite the journey. Not the roller coaster, but the journey.
Some days it's been a roller coaster, other days it's just been a nightmare because it's very challenging.
It is.
Especially in startups where everybody's supremely young, very passionate. There's a lot of energy and a lot of emotions.
Of course.
Managing all of that. Also in an environment where there's a possible long-term recession coming. So it like things couldn't have gotten worse, basically.
Absolutely.
और इस situation के अंदर people को manage करना is I think I think I've aged at least 5 years in the last couple of months, just going through all of the ups and downs that
So how do you
brings.
think that you're managing people over the coming, economical condition of Pakistan, overall the world? So how is it affecting the business? Obviously, it's affecting the business on its own, but how are you tackling the people and their motivational level, employee engagement stuff? How do you actually keep them upscale?
It's a very difficult thing to do, honestly, Laraib. Matlab, because of this economic situation, there isn't a lot of cash out there
Right.
anymore, right? And
Understandable.
as any startup does, it's basically living on the money of the venture capitalists.
Of course.
Right? We're funded, and as is any other startup, a funded startup is living on the money of a venture capitalist. And now because of this economic situation, everybody's kind of, वो जो आपने सुनी होगी किसी ज़माने में, there is a saying कि cash is king.
Yeah.
It like now more than ever ये चीज़ apply होती है. जिस बंदे के पास हाथ में cash है, वो बंदा can weather this storm.
Definitely.
Right? Even if your net worth is in the billions, but you don't have any hard cash, there's no tangible money with you, it'll become difficult for you to survive the recession.
Right.
And it's a similar situation across the board. So as a startup, we grow our business, we increase our valuation, we get into the next round of funding to
Right.
further fuel our growth.
Right.
Challenge ये आया है कि venture capitalists have kind of zipped up their pockets
Right.
and they're kind of taking more precautions. They want to step into the world of funding more cautiously now than they were before.
Right.
And because of that, the amount of dollars running around in this particular industry has become limited.
Right.
This has led to startups kind of consolidating their business and kind of re-strategizing on how to pivot from a growth-only mindset to generating revenue, to generating profit.
Right.
So, agar for example, एक startup का profitability target was in the next 2 years on a EBITDA level, वो accelerate होके आ गया कि हमने अगले साल के अंदर EBITDA level positive होना.
Interesting.
Because the baseline assumption here is कि because venture capitalists are not going to be spending money as frivolously as they were before, so the assumption is कि अगले 2 साल अगर हमें नहीं भी पैसे मिलते, how can we do 2 things? Number 1, how can we reach profitability at the earliest
Right.
with our existing business or by restructuring the existing business? And number 2, how can we extend
Yeah.
the funds that we have to the maximum possible time? Why? Because in the case where we are not able to raise a further round of funding.
Yeah, because you have to wait for the further round funding and it goes on and on.
Of course, so funding तो चलती रहती है ना, funding की
रहती है.
meetings चलती रहती हैं, मुलाकातें होती रहती हैं, venture capital, you're meeting them on a regular basis, the investments team, whoever is responsible for it. Challenge ये है कि now because दुनिया इतनी change हो गई है ना, assumptions बदल गए हैं. अब पहले ये होता था ना, आपको बस idea है, founders समझ आ रहे हैं, पैसा मिल जाएगा, पैसा इतना problem नहीं है, अभी भी इतना problem नहीं है at that stage of your startup.
Right?
और हाँ, बिल्कुल शुरू की स्टेज पे इतना चैलेंज अभी भी नहीं है. If it's a good idea and there's some market validation and then there's a good set of founders with a track record, it's not that big of a challenge. But now startups are trying to save up as much cash as they can.
Makes sense.
क्योंकि अगर अगले 2 साल तक राउंड रेज ना हुआ, पैसे ना रेज हुए, then the company will shut down regardless of how beautifully it's doing.
Or either they make profit, either they raise another round.
Exactly. Or even if they do make a profit, but they're not able to raise money, if the profit isn't at a level where they can sustain that for as an ongoing concern,
Of course.
they will still shut down. Right? So, it's a tough situation to be in.
Right.
And that's why, like, हमने recently देखा है, a lot of businesses have shut down. We've seen a lot of companies that have unfortunately have to let go of a lot of people as well. And like that's the toughest part, right?
Toughest.
Of letting go of the people who believed in you, letting go of the people who left their corporate jobs or left their jobs with relatively more security than
Makes
a
sense.
job than the job security a startup provides. A lot of companies let go of people, and at the very top level, अगर आपको बताऊं, so like I said, businesses needed to drive towards profitability and also needed to reduce the burn. Burn is जो मैंने आपको अभी, I think before this recording started, we were discussing venture capitalists and all. So burn is basically कि मुझे 1 महीना गुजारने के लिए, for example, as a business, मुझे 1 महीना गुजारने के लिए कितने पैसे मेरे burn हो रहे हैं. So burn के अंदर मेरा working capital जा रहा होगा, that is deployed in the business which circulates around the business. Second is it's not really burning, it's rotating, so I wouldn't really call that a burn. But then there's definitely your in our business there's warehousing costs, there's last mile costs, which is delivery costs, there is selling and engagement costs, your order bookers, your acquisition people who are there in the field educating the people on what Retailo does, how they can move towards the digital side of procuring things for their shops. उस सारी चीज़ की एक कॉस्ट है.
बिल्कुल.
और हर महीने बिजनेस ड्राइव करके रेवेन्यू लाने के लिए there's a certain amount of dollars that you need to there's a certain influx of dollars you need to put into the business on these line items, and then there's your salary cost, जो जैसे मेरी people team की cost है, accounting team की cost है, admin team की cost है,
सारा back office आपका.
Exactly. So उसकी cost bear करनी है, पूरे महीने का खर्चा है.
पूरे महीने का खर्चा है.
That's your burn. And if as a startup you're not profitable, you're burning the cash. मैं $1 लगा रहा हूँ, मुझे वापस $1 भी नहीं मिल रहा, then I need to really rethink my existence. Basically, I need to figure out कि अगर before this situation, economic situation happened and all, अगर उससे पहले मेरे पास पैसे थे 12 महीने या 15 महीने गुजारने के लिए, so now I need to assume and believe that I will not be raising any more money now because it's become supremely more difficult to do it. और उसके साथ साथ मुझे ये 15 महीने का नंबर extend करना है to at least 28 to 30 months. Extend करने के लिए there's only a handful of things that I can do. और इसके साथ साथ profitable भी होना है, by the way. So that's how that's what I believe. So different startups and a lot of, even not only startups, corporates have also let go of a lot of people, unfortunately.
Yeah, recession has hit you hard.
And इसकी वजह से I think there's a lot of people that got affected because of just this economics that was playing out. Because people cost reduce करनी, like if you don't reduce it, your burn numbers are not too pretty, and then you can't really survive. And eventually you do need to survive, right? Like business तो नहीं बंद करना ना. And then investors की अब asks ज़्यादा demanding हो गए हैं. There's more scrutiny, there is more pressure.
Right.
So because of all of that, I think it's become a very startups have become a very tough place to be nowadays, especially.
They were fast paced at once, now they've become tough. So what are the strategies that you're implementing to overcome that challenge?
Yes, so this is what I was talking to somebody in the company, and I was like कि यार मई से पहले हल्की सी notions आना शुरू हो गई थी कि the world is moving towards a recession. Let's talk about March, for example. बिल्कुल आइडिया नहीं था, थोड़ा सा बिल्कुल barely आइडिया था. never realized कि इतना full blown होगा. March के अंदर everybody was happy. Funding raise हो रही है, increments भी लग रहे हैं, promotions भी हो रही हैं, there's international mobility, there's a lot of traveling, there's hardly any questions around कि अच्छा ये टीम खाने पे जा रही है, we're doing lavish dinners or whatever. A lot of engagement activities happening every 6 months. There's an all hands किसी offsite के ऊपर or whatever.
But just a quick question. Does all the engagement activities has to be related to money?
No, absolutely not.
No.
engagement act. So पता है engagement activities की nature, in my view, engagement activities की nature changes. जब इससे पहले there was a lot of money in the system, so we were using the money for engagement.
Right.
And suddenly the money vanished in the system because अब क्योंकि burn control करना था, like I said. So now you try to cut down on a lot of luxuries, right? You try to make sure कि जितनी luxuries हैं, for example travel अगर बहुत खुला हो रहा है, so अब सिर्फ business case की basis पर होगा. There's more scrutiny on every step, and naturally engagement budget भी reduce हो गया. So इन हालात में when there's a lot of जो वो कहते हैं ना VUCA world, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity.
Of course.
When there's suddenly a VUCA environment that you're in, and you don't have the money for engagement activities, उस point पे what really works on engagement is building clarity for the people in your org.
Makes sense.
Because there's a lot of uncertainty.
That's the worst part.
And number one, building clarity, and number two, over communication.
Over communication.
From the top down.
Okay.
These two things will help you as the leadership really give the right direction and the right messaging and the right belief in the system to the people till the nth level. क्योंकि चैलेंज क्या आता है कि जब दुनिया बिल्कुल अनसर्टेनिटी की तरफ चली जाती है ना, the leaders become busy in problem solving, which is understandable.
Of course.
They become busy in repivoting the business, re-strategizing for the business.
बिल्कुल.
The individual contributors mostly वो अपने अपने काम तो कर रहे होते हैं, बट इंटरेक्शन लेवल एंड एक दिन में अगर 10 दफ़ा इंटरेक्शन हो रहा है वो रिड्यूस होकर 2 दफ़ा पे आ गया, बिकॉज नाउ एवरीबडी द लीडरशिप इज़ बिजी एंड ट्राइंग टू सॉल्व फॉर द बिजनेस, द इंडिविजुअल कॉन्ट्रीब्यूटर्स आर काइंड ऑफ डूइंग व्हाट दे डूइंग ऑन अ डे टू डे बेसिस, बट डायरेक्शन सेटिंग अप और कम हो गई है बिकॉज chaotic सा एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट होना शुरू हो गया. इन दिस एनवायरनमेंट अब मैं अगर जाके कहता हूँ टेबल टेनिस टूर्नामेंट करना है, डजंट रियली मेक सेंस.
No, it doesn't.
राइट, मैं कहता हूँ कि यार चलो आई कैन डू एन ऑफ साइड, दैट वुड हेल्प, बट लाइक आई सेड के $1 जो अब इन्वेस्टर ने दिया हुआ है वो मुझे अब 15 महीने नहीं, मुझे 30 महीने चलाना है. सो डू आई वॉन्ट टू स्पेंड दैट ऑन टेकिंग एवरीबडी टू एन ऑफ साइड versus do I want to spend that on maybe trying to
sustain the value
exactly sustain the business further. Maybe give some level of increments instead of doing an engagement activity.
Makes sense.
To the people in the org. So then the decision making becomes much more complicated because now there's a lot of more variables.
Yeah.
Because the system के अंदर पैसे flow ही नहीं कर रहे. इस point के अंदर 2 चीज़ें will always help.
Right.
Which is number one, build clarity for everybody in the org. Double down on, for example, Laraib, if you're in my team, my responsibility as a leader should be to double down on, Laraib, what are your goals for this quarter? Like, सही है, हमारा business has radically shifted. Our focuses have radically shifted. There's much less money in the system than before. So, Laraib, what is my expectation from you?
Yeah.
That is number one. And number two, over communication, top down. Do all hands. Get the founders walking in the office, talking to people, and just repeating the same messages over and over again.
Right.
और मैं लोगों को ये कहता हूँ कि मार्च के अंदर everybody was crazy. Unilever, PNG से लोग कह रहे हैं कि यार Retailo कैसे ज्वाइन करना है, या for that matter startup space कैसे एंटर करूँ. And आज वही लोग कह रहे हैं यार how the hell do I get back to where I came from?
Yeah.
So
happens so quick.
अगर 6 महीने के अंदर ये इतना सेंटिमेंट चेंज हुआ है, then it's not really because of the nature of the business. It's because of the economic uncertainty that we're in. Startups are the riskiest asset class, by the way.
Of course.
मतलब probably 5% success rate होगा. I think I'm being a little too generous. So I think people when joining startups back in the day जब सब कुछ hunky dory था, didn't really realize that.
Guys, you screwed up.
True. No,
but they didn't really, when we talk, as we started the conversation, we were talking about how young people are coming up ex Unilever में internship करके, I want to go to Bazaar, I want to go to Retailo, or I want to go to Dastagir, or any other. Retailo, ice Retailo. Okay, so I want to go to Retailo. I swear I did not do that on purpose. Anyways, you want to go to Retailo, you want to go to, say for example, Sada Pay is coming up. Any other startup who's, bringing Airlift, for example, well, they want to add the cool hashtag, X Kareem, X what. So they want to enter that space, right? And now they're seeing, Unilever was much better than that, maybe.
आप देख लो ना, अब startups के अंदर what are the benefits that you're getting?
Youngster even, question, I see many people upcoming with a question कि startup career कहाँ से join करें और startup से join करके corporate पे कैसे जाएं, या corporate से join करके startup पे. या तो आप एक स्ट्रीम रखो कि स्टार्टअप जाना है कॉर्पोरेट जाना है. अगर स्टार्टअप जा रहे हो तो करियर करना सोचो. देयर इज ग्रोथ एंड लर्निंग मोर इन केस. एंड व्हेन बिकॉज स्टार्टअप एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल स्ट्रक्चर वो जो एक टिपिकल चला आ रहा होता है ना कि 40 साल 50 साल का जो साहब होंगे वो बैठे होंगे आपके डिप्यूटी पे, फिर उसके ऊपर आपके असिस्टेंट डिप्यूटी या डायरेक्टर होंगे. आई एम नॉट वेरी गुड विद द स्ट्रक्चर, बट यू गेट द आइडिया, राइट?
I get the idea. Like the hierarchies are set in stone. There's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of red tape, and more often than not वो हो जाती है जब कंपनी इतनी बड़ी हो जाती है. And there's so many things that need to manage. Now you need a proper org structure which is well defined, which is solidified to manage that size of the business, which is great for them as well.
Great.
But like अभी आपने बात की कि अगर like I think what you were trying to say was that या सोच लो कि भाई स्टार्टअप में जाना है या कॉर्पोरेट में जाना है. मैं इससे थोड़ा डिसएग्री करता हूँ. A lot of people think कि मुझे अगर अपना करियर स्टार्ट करना है ना तो मैं एक कॉर्पोरेट का ठप्पा लगवा लूँ और फिर वो ठप्पा मुझे हेल्प कर देगा टू ओपन अ लॉट ऑफ डोर्स. दैट्स ग्रेट थिंग. मतलब इसमें गलत कुछ नहीं है. एंड अप्रोच भी आई थिंक स्टेटिस्टिकली अगर इफ यू डू एन एनालिसिस इट माइट इवन वर्क आउट मोर ऑफ्टन देन नॉट. आई एम नॉट पर्सनली अलाइन्ड विद दैट थॉट बिकॉज लाइक आई एम द सॉर्ट ऑफ गाय जो मार्केटिंग में ज्वाइन किया था, एंडेड अप इन HR, राइट? भाई I will always preach to people that do what you love, do what you're passionate about. जब passionate होगे ना तो दरवाजे ऑटो पे खुल जाएंगे यार. Because when you're passionate, you're going to put in more effort. Right. It's unconscious. You're going to enjoy it much more. You're going to build more relationships. You're going to grow your network in what you're passionate in.
Right.
If you join a company just for the thappa, then your motivation is just for that thappa as well.
Completely agreed.
So it doesn't matter if you're starting from a corporate, from a startup, wherever.
No, but I said when you're doing a startup, so you think of अगर आप जा रहे हो, so you have a plan in mind, right? Sometimes you don't have a plan. Either people are confused between what I'm talking about. People are confused between startups and corporate working. Okay. So the confusion is okay, but you need to see कि आप अपने आप को देखते कहाँ हो. As you said, you have to be passionate about something. If I'm not passionate about a startup, मुझे सिर्फ थप्पा चाहिए startup का कि I'm so cool that I've worked with there.
You will not do well in the startup then.
Exactly.
Because startup में until and unless you don't have
a vision with it, then, or you align, or you feel very,
if you're not passionate to create something, or you will never be able to, because startup is not a 9 to 5.
It's not.
But very clearly, like people come with the expectation that maybe सुबह 9 बजे आएंगे, 10 बजे आएंगे, 6-7 बजे तक दफ्तर खत्म हो जाएगा. Startups हो भी सकता है, like I'm not saying
no, I see my friends who is like doing startup, because I'm a startup geek myself. So what they do is phone.
You're always on the job.
Exactly. And I'm asking the guy कि मेरा friend है, I'm asking the guy कि what's up? He's like, yeah, एक मिनट ये हिसाब भेज दो, I have to tell the team that what you're doing. He has just woken up. I was like, क्या कर रहे हो?
You're always on the phone, always on the go. And yeah, वो चाहिए होता है ना, because देखो startup को 0 to 1 तक लेके जाने के लिए there's a lot of effort that you need to put in, and then 1 to 100. I think there's a book.
There's 0 to 1.
0 to 1 book. I think वहाँ से मैंने उठाई थी example. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of like multiple things happening at the same time, especially जब startup scale कर रहा होता है.
It's so much passion that I see. It's like
exactly.
so unbelievable. It's somehow magical, you know. You sleep and you think about it, and then you know, getting back to the 9 to 5. The guy told me, "Ke we're running a company here, you know." So he has the responsibility that you know he has to do it, even though
ownership है, ownership बहुत high
Exactly.
होती है, ownership बहुत high होती है, initiative taking बहुत high होती है. There's a lot of crazy and a lot of passion in
Craziness.
that person.
I think the craziness gets you there.
Because वहाँ पर ये होता है ना कि भाई ये करना है, no matter what happens, मुझे अगर ये करना है, like whatever XYZ thing I need to do, I need to get it done. And इसीलिए sometimes people come from corporates thinking that there's Gen Z, millennials in the company, fun place to be, you know, there's a lot of great perks, coffee machines and bean bags and whatnot.
That's what I've been thinking about the content they put up, but it's not the reality though.
They join the company thinking of these things.
Yeah.
And वो फिर एकदम like, sorry for the French, मगर चपेट पड़ती है of actually working in a startup,
course,
because
of
then you're
course.
on the job all the time, especially as you go. So मैं जो बात कर रहा था ना clarity और communication की, like let me just tie in what I'm going to say with that, कि as you go higher up, and it's not necessarily true only for startups में probably ज़्यादा magnitude होता है इस चीज़ का than a regular corporate. As you go up in seniority, it becomes more and more ambiguous. It becomes more and more ambiguous.
Right.
Because more often than not, startups के अंदर ना जो founders हैं आपके और जो leadership है वो जो कर रही है, they're trying to disrupt the general, regular, conventional way of doing business.
Definitely.
In whatever industry they're in.
Definitely.
और अगर disrupt कर रहे हैं ना, it naturally means कि जो भी चीज़ हो रही है, more often than not, is happening for the first time. हमें भी नहीं पता कैसे करना,
Honestly speaking.
So like ऐसा नहीं है कि tried and tested है, होते भी हैं, but more often than not पहली दफ़ा ही कर रहे होते हैं. अगर प्रोडक्ट बना रहे हैं और इतने लार्ज स्केल पे बना रहे हैं तो पहली दफ़ा ही बना रहे हैं. अगर एक इतनी बड़ी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की फोर्स सेटअप कर दिए तो प्रॉबेबली पहली दफ़ा ही सेटअप की होगी, चलाई होंगी पहले, सेटअप फ्रॉम स्क्रैच पहली दफ़ा की होगी. वेयर हाउस में काम ज़रूर किया होगा, मगर वेयर हाउस प्रोक्योर करके उसको सेटअप करना, उसके लॉजिस्टिक फ्लोज मतलब सेट करना टू इंश्योर कि आपकी लॉजिस्टिक्स और वेयर हाउस की कॉस्ट बिल्कुल मिनिमल हो, वो पहली दफ़ा ही कर रहे होगे. एंड पहली दफ़ा मैनेजर्स भी बन रहे होगे, because they're all young people coming from different individual contributor roles who are now stepping into a startup and they find themselves with a team of 5 to 10 people. First time managers वाला एक लोचा भी आ गया. इसमें I've forgotten the point I was going to make.
You're trying to say कि you know they're managing the role for the first time, they're doing that so on the first time, so you know you get the loop.
हाँ मैं उसकी बात कर रहा. So it's more often than not it's going to, like I was saying, it there's a lot of ambiguity और काफ़ी चीज़ें पहली दफ़ा ही कर रहे होते हैं.
बिल्कुल.
तो
But the communication and leadership helps you get rolling.
Exactly. आपकी जो टीम होती है ना, they're looking up to you for direction.
Of course.
More often than not, you don't have direction. ये जो situation मैं describe कर रहा हूँ, this is something which I've been facing.
Right.
Because I think Retailo has also been my first experience as a manager as well. And now there's a large team who all eyes are on me to kind of give them that direction, to set the direction of the ship where it's sailing. मैंने लेके जाना है. It's a lot of pressure as well.
It's a lot of pressure.
So,
and how we started the incremental cycle, so it's on you, Waleed.
Increment cycle. So well, we can.
Am I getting an increment out of it?
Yeah, most probably yes. Most probably yes. I think if this hits 20,000 views, I'll give you an increment cycle. नहीं.
Okay.
Yeah, so मैं इस point पे आ रहा था कि इतनी ambiguity के अंदर ना, again tying back to clarity and communication, leadership का फिर काम बन जाता है, like I was saying, कि to give that clarity to their teams, even though there is a lot of ambiguity that they're dealing with.
Right.
So my message, or what I like to preach to leadership, is don't wait for more clarity than you have right now, because you're probably not going to get it.
Right.
उसी के अंदर रहते हुए, that is why you are a leader, right? Build that clarity for the team, pass it down, build expectation setting around whatever is required in the next 3 months to 6 months, एंड टीम को काम पे लगा दें, और उसके साथ साथ ओवर कम्युनिकेट कि भाई लीडरशिप के अंदर दिस इज व्हाट इज बीइंग डिस्कस्ड और दिस इज द डायरेक्शन दैट द कंपनी इज टेकिंग.
And keep reminding the values, the structure, the alignment, the goal that we are based on.
बड़ी खूबसूरत बात की Laraib, you've touched values. All of this that we've discussed up till right now is not possible until and unless there's a baseline of values which is supporting this entire system.
Definitely.
मुझे नहीं लगता था values इतनी important होते हैं. Very honest, I couldn't understand the tangible benefits of values. कभी देखी नहीं सही से implement होते हुए. Always felt like they like mug के ऊपर चिपका दिया marketing या
respect वगैरह वगैरह.
Or like they're more often than not they're like integrity.
I don't know, half the people would not know about the meaning of integrity and whatever the meaning behind it, but most of them like, yeah, integrity is like on point.
मतलब respectfulness.
Yeah.
मैं क्या करूँ respectful? Like it's a word on a wall. एक दीवार पे respectful, एक दीवार पे integrity. Like मैं क्या करूँ इसका? ये कोई नहीं बताता.
It's like अगर leadership आके explain करती है तो लोग उससे align होते हैं, then they feel okay actually ये होता है. You know, you're showing it by your action.
100%. So this is the baseline of creating a culture. Right.
Definitely. Agreed.
100%. Values आपने जो अपनी बना ली, जो भी स्टार्टअप्स के अंदर तो आप क्रिएट ही करो ना पहली दफ़ा. वैल्यूज़ के साथ व्हाट आर दी वैल्यूज़ क्या हैं? वैल्यूज़ आर सेट ऑफ बिहेवियर्स दैट यू वांट टू इंकलकेट इन दी ऑर्ग विच यू फील कि अगर ये बिहेवियर्स ऑन रेगुलर बेसिस मेरी टीम्स लेकर आए टू द वर्क तो then nothing can stop us. Then we're going to create a world class culture.
Wonderfully said.
ये चीज़ realize नहीं हो पाती. More often than not values बना देते हैं और बस भूल जाते हैं. appraisal cycle में याद आता है, ओए 5 values थी उस पे rating देनी.
KPIs फिर बनते, फिर आपको याद आता है,
उस पे rating देनी. और फिर उस वक्त जब rating दे रहे होते हो ना तो हर बंदे का lens different होता है.
बिल्कुल.
मैं एक value को for example एक value है we are दीवार पे चिपकी हुई इंटेग्रिटी.
जबरदस्त.
राइट.
या
लारिब, तुम्हारे लिए इंटेग्रिटी माइट बी डिफरेंट.
इट माइट बी डिफरेंट.
मेरे लिए इट्स गोइंग टू बी डिफरेंट बिकॉज मेरा एक्सपीरियंस एक्सपोजर एक डिफरेंट तरफ से आ रहा है, आपका डिफरेंट तरफ से आ रहा है. मगर उस बंदे के साथ ज्यादती होगी ना जिसको आप अप्रेस कर रहे हो इंटेग्रिटी के ऊपर.
जैसा सेट कि आपका मीनिंग अलग होगा, आपको पता अलग होगा, कुछ और आपको पता नहीं होगा.
एग्जैक्टली. दैट बिकम्स चैलेंजिंग. सो यहाँ पर ओवर कम्युनिकेशन की जब मैं बार बार बात करता हूँ कि complex uncertain environment के अंदर how to engage your people and how to make them continue believing in the vision that they believed in before all of this happened, and that's why they left their
paramount
jobs
responsibility
and joined you on pay cuts.
Yeah,
people join startups on pay cuts.
Definitely, of course.
And because they're passionate about the vision. So अब अगर when everything has like become really uncertain and all, उस point पे अब leadership गायब हो जाती है, उनके साथ जाती है फिर. Right. And so that's why I keep saying कि over communicate. And I've also learned this, by the way. I recently went through like in the company अपनी team के अंदर ही like I went through this phase where I had in my head I had built clarity, but on ground actually clarity नहीं गई हुई थी, expectation setting थोड़ी सही नहीं हुई थी, and because of that like there were people who weren't happy, and absolutely सही बात है. That's I failed as a leader there. Right. And that's because मैंने probably उस point पे over communication नहीं की. I did not keep a regular sync with the team. मैं फंस गया अपने दिमाग में bigger problems को solve करते हुए, forgetting that the biggest problem to solve is the people. Right. And I think that's where I had to recalibrate myself.
Then you have to pivot and then do it again.
हाँ, फिर like एक दो realize कर लिया तो go back to the roots.
Exactly.
सबको इकट्ठा किया, communicate. तो उसके अंदर values आपको behaviors का define करती हैं. What are the behaviors that you would ideally want
in your environment?
Yeah, daily basis पे आपने ये वाले behaviors लेकर आने to work. And that is what then, like I said, creates the world class culture. Because policies बहुत हद तक चीज़ें define कर तो देती हैं, but there is always going to be uncertain. There is always going to be parts of your work life where आपको नहीं पता मैं क्या करूँ. वहाँ पर आपका कल्चर किक इन करता है और वो कल्चर वैल्यू से बिल्ड हुआ होता है. और ये चीज़ टॉप डाउन इंकलकेट होती है. सो जितना मर्जी लारेब आप में या कोई भी और इन द कंपनी जितना मर्जी कोशिश कर ले वैल्यू सेशंस करा ले या like however hard they might try to kind of add values in the start of an all hands every month, until and unless this is not reinforced and number 2 lived
Important.
on a
very
daily
important.
basis, showcased on a daily basis
Of course.
by the leadership, this will never get inculcated down to the nth level of your org, which
Basically.
breaks the culture. और now more than ever इस रिसेशन की तरफ अगर हम जा रहे हैं, वैल्यूज़ को रिफ्रेश करके just really holding on to your values, just going back to your grassroots, holding on to the values and living them, really living them, showing कि अच्छा अगर integrity की value है दीवार के ऊपर तो I am living integrity and this is how I am living it.
Of course.
Being verbal about it, sharing those experiences, that is going to help you kind of band together as an org and come out of this recession or whatever like with a stronger culture. Nobody knows when it's going to end, but whenever it's going to end, you're going to probably emerge with a stronger culture, with a stronger bond out the other side of this recession, if you hold dearly to your values.
I think that's the most important thing that important, and we tend to neglect that at the end of the day. And people coming to me that let's talk people, what is it about? So this is what it's about. It's about people. It's about you, your journey. Waleed covered his journey shortly. I would love to go into detail someday. However, it's more about people, about their journeys, about how exemplary examples are there, how you can improve your work structures, and how it can actually help you grow as a person in your career likewise, right? So we're quickly skipping to the rapid fire round. Thank you so much, Waleed, for joining us. Are you ready for me to throw some questions on you?
I did not know this is happening.
Yeah, I did not share Waleed is the first guest in the show that we're not sharing the list with. However, we are going to shoot up rapid fire questions with him, so let's get started with it. So Waleed, are you ready?
Sure.
100% ready.
Not really, but I don't think I have a choice.
Okay. So if you're not Waleed, who are you? If it's not Waleed, then who is it? You're a chef, or what are you? A painter?
I am a musician.
Quick. You're a musician. Very well. So how would you rate yourself at your job?
Nowadays, I think I'm doing a 4. It's
okay, guys.
Really tough in this time nowadays. But generally, I think I'm an 8 or 9. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So can you name me 5 values that you would like to increment, or maybe you see as a people?
I can share Retailo's 5 values. Like I love them.
Go ahead.
I love them.
Quick.
We are owners.
Yeah.
Be humble and respectful. Wow your customers.
Wow.
And in this case, customer is the end customer, the retailer. जिसको हम serve कर रहे हैं असल में. Dream big, start small, and we enjoy the journey together.
Wow, I think
they're really aligned with my values as well. That's why I love working here.
I love it. I love how synced it is. Like values.
It needs to be. I'm head of people.
We keep forgetting that. No, we're not. We're actually not. Moving on quickly. So, what is it? Culture or benefit?
Culture, always.
Corporate or startup?
Startups, always.
Why though? Oh, you actually have a whole episode behind you said why. You can go back and watch, otherwise we'll continue. Yeah, so we have covered that. Oh, at the end I asked this to every of my guests. So, would you hire me?
If this video hits 20k.
Oh my god. Guys, we need to do I'm not sure if it's even gonna hit that, but even, I'm gonna get an incremental cycle. I'm gonna get hired. I have a new.
It all depends on these people. if they take this to 20,000, you're on my team. You're getting an increment as well. So
the team that your team is watching, and guys, this is your boss. I'm telling you.
But in Retailo, things are a little different.
Okay.
Instead of employees, we say colleagues. Because we don't want to give the impression that like subordinates hain ya employees hain. Like don't really, that's not the messaging that we're aiming for. And also like I don't think anybody, like for example जो typical नहीं कहते कि यार मैं इस function में हूँ, department में हूँ. We like to say teams. Just small linguistics which I like to think create a bigger impact. कतरा करके दरिया बनता.
Definitely.
So I won't be your boss. I'll just be Waleed.
You're already Waleed, and I'm getting the increment, guys. Yay! So let's end this episode at a very good note on your culture, on your values, and stay tuned for more episode upcoming. Allah Hafiz. In the world of AI and technology taking over the world, we tend to miss people centricity and values attached to it. On Let's Talk People, we are talking culture, diversity, community building, and so much more. So join us and let's get talking.